What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Van Chats. I'm sitting here with Ama Nsek, and yeah, we're chilling. It's 6 o'clock, and it's 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. It's almost 6 o'clock.
It's
Let's
5.
yeah, it's 5. I'm gonna restart that. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Coffee and Van Chats. It's almost 6 o'clock in California. And it's almost 7 o'clock here in Colorado. I've literally butchered this twice already. And he's having coffee, man. That's when you know you're a huge fan of Coffee and Van Chats. But anyways, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. Doing really good. Excited to be here.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. And yeah, so we had you on the podcast or the panel where like I felt like I was interviewing Donald Trump and Biden. And I was that guy in the middle that was like, wait, you're not answering the question. You're not answering the question for that USA Cycling panel. But there was way too many people, I think. But it still ended up being a great podcast for the people that wanted to hear it out. But I kind of wanted to bring you back on and let's chat about it. Like, you know, what feedback you've heard. What did your opinion change at all? Like, do you feel any differently about it?
Well, I got onto the podcast not to obviously be hostile. I'm not like that.
For sure.
I got onto the podcast to really get questions, and the reason that I was okay with it being in a podcast format was hopefully that they'd be able to clear up a lot of questions, not just for me, but for everyone who listens to it.
Yeah.
I think the podcast went well in terms of them being able to explain the ODA program. However, the ability to answer certain questions was a little bit tough.
Yeah.
I think sometimes for them. Not only that, I think
understandable. There was so many people and people coming from all angles. So it was like,
yeah,
I kind of get it. Yeah.
And there were a lot of heads in the meeting, and it was just there's a lot of people interjecting and giving elongated responses that weren't necessary. As for me personally, I didn't get a lot of the questions that I had answered, and the questions that I did have weren't answered fully or properly for the most part.
For sure.
So I still have a lot of questions. My view has changed slightly just given the information. I'm glad that it's not as 100% as exclusive as I had originally thought. Still pretty exclusive as to my knowledge, because it wasn't necessarily cleared up. But I think it was very beneficial to have. And I think that having Jim and Rob and Jesse in a meeting and being able to come together and speak about it is huge on USA Cycling's part. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if it's just because of this platform, but I've ridden for the national team, and I don't think I've ever met a CEO. I met Derek Bouchard Hall, but I had never met Rob, or I didn't even know what Rob looked like. So it was really cool to for him to reach out and want to be a part. I was kind of shocked by that, but who knows?
Yeah, so was I.
It threw me off guard completely. But anyways, for the listenership that doesn't know you, because I know you and your brother, I think of you two as I don't want to call you the little Williams bros, because I love the Williams brothers because of how tight they are. You and your brother are super close, right?
Yeah,
super tight. You guys race together. You guys trained together. So give us the backstory of the Nsek brothers, or just even you, man.
Yeah, I'll try to make it as quick as possible. So my brother and I started riding bikes when we were around, 11 or 12. He had started first and I had followed, little brother.
Yeah.
And then we started racing in NICA. And for those who don't know, NICA is this high school mountain biking league. It's spreading. It's in 30 different states right now. And it's an amazing program that gets more high schoolers on bikes, and in some more developed states, middle schoolers.
Yeah.
So we had started in there, and we had gotten more into racing and more competitive and faster. My brother decided to start road racing and ended up winning states and a couple other road races against some really big hitters, and got himself on Lux. And then as a little brother, I again followed suit.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit of a balance of road and mountain bikes, and eventually transitioned out of mountain and did road primarily. So, the guidance of Roy and George, it was insane. And to have the resources and the, I guess just everything, the entire environment was a complete game changer, something that we didn't really have on the mountainside.
Yeah.
that allowed us to unlock a lot more potential. So, um, yeah, let's see. My brother and I, actually, we both did a lot of the same things as juniors. So he won the junior road race, state champs his last year as a junior, and then I did it the following year, my last year as a junior. Um, and then our last years as juniors, we both did the Paris-Roubaix block and went to Europe to go race in like France and did Paris-Roubaix stuff like that. Um, and then that's pretty much like the biggest chapter of our racing careers. Afterwards, we had left um, like high level racing, like where we're traveling to Canada and Europe and all over the US and just did local races while going to college, which was great. Like as student athletes, my brother and I have and currently do value education. So we were going to school 4.0, all that jazz. My brother was taking a ridiculous amount of units and racing collegiately. So, yeah, we were just doing like jobs, working, school, and bikes as like a fun thing. We'd be those weekend warriors where we go out with like five of our neighbors and we just go ride for like 3 or 4 hours, grab coffee, come back.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then yeah, my brother ended up. I guess this is we can talk about that later. But yeah, so after that we had um, yeah, I guess we've been doing that up until now. I mean, I've been taking bikes seriously and not seriously. I had left the sport like fully in terms of like riding for
Hmm.
like 6 months last year just because I was working too much, school was too much, and I was trying to expand our coaching business a lot. So it was just it was too much on my plate, and it would be simpler if I just stopped riding and focused on like something easier that I can get a lot more like bang for buck for, like running.
Yeah.
You pound out like a good 30-minute run, do that every morning before the sun comes up. And, like there's a big difference between doing that versus like getting ready for a bike where you have your lights, you have the winter gear, you have to make sure everything's charged and have your cycling shoes and all this jazz. So it's just a lot easier to go run. So, yeah, all of that had changed up this summer when, yeah, I mean, I guess, COVID had hit and I was thinking about what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Uh, like, I think one of the biggest things from COVID was just everyone had time to just like take a breather because you're locked in your home. And for those who aren't working remote, you have nothing to do.
Yeah.
And you have nothing to do except think about what you want to do with your life, essentially.
Yeah. No, dude,
So,
I think even if you are working from home, you're literally processing that on a daily basis as well.
yeah. So, yeah, I guess Justin had just reached out at the right time. I I don't know. I had decided that sure I'd be willing to give Legion a year just because the coaching business was doing really well,
Yeah.
and I can do that as well as like I wasn't expecting Legion to pay or anything. So
Hmm.
I was like, I'll do this because I support the dream, supporting like everything that he's doing to bring more opportunities in the sport, and it's a really cool project. So I decided that I would ride for Justin and Legion for 2021, and then got my brother on board, which is sick. Yeah, so as of right now, like Yimez working remote, he sells payroll, but yeah, he can kind of like control his hours a little bit, so that way he can get in like a nice hour and a half ride during the week, and then just like ride with like me or just by himself on the weekends and get a little bit more time in. So yeah,
Sweet.
that's
No, no, that's super cool. So like the Legion thing, like and kind of, because like I feel like there's this hole, right? And so what I want to kind of pull out of you, and honestly, if it's too much, you can just be like, yeah, let's just move on. But I think for a kid to have gone to Paris Roubaix and witness that and to experience that and then come home and all of a sudden there's this like, oh, you know what, like I'm just gonna kind of put the bike away, I'm just gonna work. Like what made you go, hey, I want to work? Because I think it was it your brother that was on a Volo for like guest riding a
oh
stage a year project for a
Yeah,
little bit. And so like where was the disconnect from like, hey, you know what? Chasing the world tour dream is just not my gig. Um, and even chasing the higher level national team side of things, like where was that at?
yeah. So I guess this comes down to like our actual like deep, like grounded philosophy. We
Yeah,
never really wanted to go pro, but I was like, okay, we're in high school. We don't have to work. We don't have all these responsibilities. You should just take advantage of this and train and see like how far we can go. We never really wanted world tour contracts just because one, I don't think a lot of people understand how, um, to put it politely, rough like being on a world tour team is.
for sure. Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, the racing is harsh, the management is harsh. It's just a really like competitive environment, and in terms of development, it's a pretty harsh curve. Um, and I know a lot of people that get burned out very quickly, and like it happens at the junior ranks, but let alone when you go to world tour and like this is your livelihood. My brother and I just decided we'd rather not do that. So we had fun as juniors. We weren't expecting anything more. We were extremely excited to be part of like the national team, which was like a huge accomplishment on our part, and like not just for like me and my brother, but for my entire family. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, after that, it was kind of like back to the original game plan: go to college, get a job, work, stuff like that. Yeah.
Right on. Right on. So you're in college now, right? Are you just working full
Uh,
time, taking some time off?
No,
What?
yeah, I'm working full time,
Cool.
writing for Legion. But actually, I'll talk about like you met actually. So the reason why he got onto Ebola was he was training like 8 to 10 hours a week, and then won collegiate nationals off of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then Michael Creed reached out to him and was like, "Hey, do you want to actually just ride pro for a summer?" And Ime was like, "Yeah, sure. It's just a summer." So he accepted the contract, but then later declined an actual full contract for the next following year, which would be 2019. He just
Okay.
he wanted to actually like go into work and all that.
No,
Yeah,
and see that's kind of cool to hear, you know? Like you always think of the worst. Like I've seen so many stories of like kids going to Europe, they come home and they have no opportunities or whatever. And it's like it's
yeah,
good to know that at least the opportunity was there for him to go, you know what? Like I do want to work. Like cuz it's always
yeah,
scary, like what we said before the podcast, like one of my goals is like what I want to quit the sport on my terms, like
yeah,
at the highest level. Like if I finish, I want to be done on my terms.
yeah,
And so it's cool that you guys. It's insane to me how mature you guys are for how young you are, just coming straight out of the junior ranks. But anyways, that all being said, you're on Legion now. You and your brother. What's 2021 goals for you, man?
So like it's our first year on the team, and like the squad is pretty heavy this year. It's coming from like
Yeah,
people like Tyler Williams, like everyone. Like last year, Tyler Williams was like, holy smokes, it's Tyler Williams, and now it's a full squad of people like Tyler. So it's
yeah,
it's it's a pretty stacked squad. Um, Iman and I like we're still like working and all this. And I like to have fun and like I train, but these guys are just on like another level. So that's a whole on like developmental thing that needs to happen in terms of training to bring me up to speed. Um, Andy Meh, if he chooses to go down that route, he's still like selling payroll and like deciding all of that.
yeah,
But for me, I work remote and I can control my hours and when I work. So I can work in the nights, I can work in the early mornings, I can control when I ride. It's a little bit easier for me to rack up more hours. Um, my goals for 2021 are to, um, let's see. So I know that I have a lot of mountain biking goals just because I like mountain biking.
sick.
Um, yeah, so I want to do well at a couple UCI races and at nationals, and then um, really for road, it's more so being able to support like the team in the pro races, and
Yeah,
then to at like Tulsa Tough and at Boise to be able to do like the Cat 1 2 race, the race that happens before, and just win those. So
yeah.
um, do well there, and then be able to still help out the team in the Pro One later on that night.
No,
So
that's cool.
it's gonna be pretty hectic, but I
Yeah,
think it'll be
because
really fun.
there's two squads, right? So there's like
Yeah.
a domestic elite squad, which is like I think Justin's on that, right?
Yeah, so
Like,
the domestic elite is literally just like me, Ima, Justin, just because it's
can he
really
technically
developmental.
race pro nationals still though?
So he can if he decides to move up, and that's
Uh-huh.
I think potentially the move that he's going to make. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, like it's a full on like UCI team and then like domestic elite. So
Which is cool. Like it's great. And then they've created this women's like small
yeah,
women's squad, but like it's pretty badass. I mean, Kendall Ryan
yeah,
and the
exactly.
Schneider sister, like that's insane. So
Yeah,
that's pretty dope that that's happening. Well, that's kind of interesting to think about. Like, and I guess like off the cycling thing because I love Justin, man. I think a lot of people are all talk, and that guy is it. And
yeah,
so coming to a team like Legion, I mean, even like you can tell like not only are those guys talented, but like Ty Magner, and I don't even know Tyler Williams, but even is it Hunter Grove?
yeah,
I don't even really know him, but like those kind of guys, those guys are coming in, I think, for more of the vision than they are even the actual being
like
pro part of the thing,
like the
And
results are,
so
yeah.
what's your kind of thoughts on the vision of Legion, and how do you feel like what's your goals to really push that vision and bring that vision
Yeah.
into the sport of cycling this year?
Yeah, well, I think okay, so like my brother has this phrase and he's like, don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's just like, dude, you could talk all you want, but at the end of the day, it's like, dude, your legs are gonna do the talking.
for sure.
Um, or it's like that applies to anything in life. Like my brother's really particular sometimes,
Yeah,
and he'll take note of someone who says that they want something, and he'll actually remember, and he'll be like, okay, did they actually change to like do that certain activity or not? And he'll be like,
yeah.
man, they're not about it. um, and like it's the same thing. Like Justin does not talk unless he's actually about it, and everyone on the team carries integrity in that way. So I
Hmm.
think it's really interesting to see because you don't always see that in cycling. Cycling is a very like, dude, people love talking,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's just really interesting to see everyone on the team has humility, integrity. They like they know like who they are and they're very comfortable, but they're also just like super understanding, and it's not just like a huge ego fest. Everyone's super down to earth, and like they just know their place.
for
Yeah,
sure. For
yeah,
sure. No, that's sick, man. And so like kind of spinning off that and a little bit into you and in your job. So you're a cycling coach. It's Imperium, right?
yeah,
And so tell us a little bit about that and like how that started. And I mean, before we started the podcast, you said you're riding with the kids on the weekend. So doesn't sound like you're just picking up a bunch of masters riders too. It sounds like you're giving back to the younger community and kind of feeding into what fed into you.
yeah. So like I said earlier, I'd grown up through the high school mountain biking league. Let's see. So Imperium started about like 3.5 years ago. My brother had taken on a couple of clients. But it was more of like something we do on the side of kids that knew we were fast in the area and just wanted to get a little bit faster.
Mm-hmm.
We had done a lot of reading and are certified, but we just never really did anything with it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like we were avidly looking for athletes. It was more like people would just come to us.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like his athletes started getting faster, and then Ethan Vianeta came to me, and we started working together, and he just like blossomed, like had a huge breakout season. Ended up being able to bridge a massive gap and go all the way to getting second at nationals when he was not on the list of contention at all. So
Wow.
it was like a really big year, and we had bigger goals the next year too. So Matt and I sat down one summer and we're just like, hey, we should probably expand this because it's really fun. He
Yeah.
loves riding with the kids, as do I. But for me, it was more like I really like that it's remote.
Yeah.
And like in terms of like creating training plans and being able, I love like talking with the athletes, and like they tell me about their day, like they'll tell me about their teachers and their
Yeah.
friends, and it's really cool. And it's really developmental. So you see, like now it's currently like I work with kids. I get to hear their voice change, and like as
Yeah.
and I get to see them develop as like, when they first started out, they were really shy. Maybe they weren't doing so well in school, but they're looking to get faster, and their parents wanted a good influence. So, we'd work together, and now, they're doing really well in school. They have a social life, and they're still able to ride bikes, and it's all possible just because of, like having that role and being able to show them, everything is possible. You just have to be really dedicated and determined, and also understand that you have to have fun too. So
No, that's
we
awesome.
yeah, we take a lot of kids that just like don't know how to have fun on their bike,
Yeah.
and like they're doing it because their dad's forcing them to do it, and they don't even want to ride. But it's a mindset shift. So transforming that into like loving your bike and telling the parents like, hey, you guys should probably chill out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the developmental part that really does it for me. So yeah,
No, dude, that's insane. And it's like, it's crazy to think about too, just like with the whole shift in kids athletics. Like, I was talking to Gus Morton about this a couple podcasts ago, but there's no, for those kids, there's nothing after cycling. And so what's really scary is that, you take these kids and you develop them, and they go to the world tour, they go to Action, or, and I'm just naming teams. I'm not saying that Action like isn't a good team for this, but
yeah, that disclaimer.
what I'm saying is that, they make it to the end of Action, or the end of a development team, or like in the pro ranks, or even in the first Neo Pro World Tour. When you lose your contract, your social skills are fucked. Your ability to just even market yourself are fucked. And I think there needs to be something in a team that can promote, like, hey, this is how you talk to a sponsor. Hey, this is how you talk to people. Hey, this is how you write a resume. Like, some of these kids have never folded their laundry because they've had a swan year and they've been on the road in Europe for years. And I mean, you've probably saw it on the national team,
for sure.
one season, and we'll not mention any names. I've seen it and being a part of the national team. Like, I thought that was the craziest thing. Like, you drop off a bag of
to cook rice.
Yeah,
With rice.
Yeah, it's insane. And like dropping off a bag of laundry at somebody's door, like, and it gets cleaned and it's in your room the next day, like, that to me was nuts. And so, well, I get it. Hey, we're here for high performance, but there's some kids that's always been a thing.
Yeah.
And so, I think that needs to be a part of teams. But anyways, I don't want to keep you all night. So I got to ask you one last question. We ask everybody this on the podcast, except for the last podcast. And I didn't even think about it until I'm talking about it right now. Because I was like, oh, maybe I asked him this in the panel, but I didn't ask the panel this. If you could have a cup of coffee with one person, dead or alive, who would that person be and why? And how would you take your coffee? That's a big one, like, very big one.
Oh, man. Shoot. Dang, the problem is that it's only one person.
That's okay. It only needs to be one person.
Oh man, let me think.
Like the Hoob Watt bike team, they're the only people that have ever broken the rules. And so they picked the entire USA, or the US Postal Service team, and they wanted them after the whole lawsuit situation. And they wanted to sit down with them and have a coffee and chat and see what it would be like.
Man, dang. I'm trying to think. Oh man, I really don't know.
You don't know anyone. There's not, like, dead or alive. Like, here,
man.
Like, I'm trying to think of. So, if I would have to go with somebody that has passed, like Ellen Noble did Freddie Mercury. That was awesome. That was cool.
That's a good choice.
Yeah.
Man, all right, I'll answer it, but it's kind of deep.
That's okay. It can be deep, man. This is a deep podcast.
Yeah, my dad.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. And so he passed, yeah?
Yeah.
How would you take your coffee?
Oh man,
Would you just ask him?
he doesn't drink coffee.
He doesn't drink coffee, so what would he have, you
No,
think?
he'd have the like white chocolate mocha frap. You
That's
just
cool,
yeah,
man.
he orders what everyone else orders. Yeah. Shoot, how would I take mine? Probably like a pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice, no
Like,
matter the time of the year. Yeah, that's perfect.
yeah, or like I'd say peppermint, but it's really only during specific times. Like
Yeah,
it has to be cold outside.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
No, that means a lot, man. That's super cool that you're willing to be vulnerable and share that with us, and we appreciate that. But yeah, guys, if you haven't already, please make sure you check out Ima and his brother and Imperium Coaching. I'll put all the links down in the description below. So all you have to do is go check that out, hit the follow buttons for them, and then past that, we'll see you next time, guys. Take it easy.
Okay.